What's the franchise with the best ROI? Okay, so this is the most frequently asked question. Every single candidate I've ever met in over 20 years of being a franchise consultant comes to me with this question on their mind. So let's address it once and for all. If you're new to my channel, my name is Kim Daly. I am one of America's top franchise consultants. I have been helping people just like you navigate the world of franchising for over 20 years. And in that time, I have created nearly 1,000 small business owners here in the USA. I am very proud of that fact. So let's get back to the topic of what's the franchise with the best ROI that you and every single other listener out there has on their mind. Okay, well, before I can really answer the question, I've got to define a couple of things for you. So the first thing is ROI means return on investment. But what does that mean? Are you asking me if I put $150,000 into the business, Kim, when can I get 150 grand out? That's one definition of ROI. So let's talk about that. If you put $100,000 into this business and 50 hours a week, if your average, according to their earnings claim, in 18 months, you could have $1 million business that nets to you 200 grand a year. You got your 100,000 back in 18 months if you're average. Okay, that's a fictitious scenario, but you have to put in 50 hours a week. Okay, so that's one scenario. So let's flip over to another scenario. So let's say I say, okay, well, here's a franchise, all in investment of $1 million, but owners typically only need 5 hours a week of time, and you could get your investment back in 5 years. Well, which one has the better ROI? Well, doesn't it depend on you, the owner, the role that you want to play, and the time commitment that you want to put in? Because while I, as the franchise consultant, are never going to discuss earnings claims with you, that is not my job. That is the role of a development person in a franchise, to give the specific information of the franchise. What I'm doing in this video is just educating you about how it will go and what information will be available to you if you dive into the exploration process with Kim Daly as your consultant. But what's relevant to the question you're asking about ROI is the time commitment that you have to put in. That's one question that's relevant. Another question that's relevant is, what skill do you have that you're bringing to the table? Because in the smaller investment opportunity with bigger owner time commitment, that more than likely is going to require a very proactive approach, aka a sales approach, by an owner. When you see a lower investment in a franchise, that means there's less stuff, right? There's no physical building. There might not be any tangible product that you have to carry. There might not be heavy equipment that you have to buy. So these are great businesses for a particular personality and skill set, but not the right business for everybody. If you think like a real estate agent, what determines whether a real estate agent would go out there and make or sell 10 homes a year versus 10 homes a month? What determines that? The agent, right? Their tenacity, their network, their skill, their knowledge of real estate. Well, all of those same principles would apply to those lower investment franchises. You would need that same type of personality to drive all of that effort forward. So that ROI, it only would come if you were that person. Now let's flip over to the other scenario where you have a much bigger capital expenditure, meaning you're building something out, and that's leverage. That's why you may be able to start out with less time commitment, because you have a physical building. Maybe you have a general manager in there. You have a brand that people know. So your job as the CEO of this environment is to lead your general manager, but your general manager is the one working in it. You, the CEO, get to work on it. So you're leveraged through all of that, which is a lot of stuff, costs a lot of money to build, but you get your time back. So for that exchange, you probably are not going to expect that you're going to get all the money you put in back in the first year, because you have all these expenses you have to pay for. But since it doesn't take up your time and your time is free to go invest in other things, might that be okay? Yes, if you're that type of investor looking for that type of ROI. Do you see how complicated this question starts to become when you come to me and say, I'm a numbers guy, I'm a numbers girl. It's all about the numbers. I can't tell you how much money I want to put in until I know how much money I can make. And I'm like, well, I can't tell you how much money you're going to make because I don't know the owner that you're going to show up and be. Above everything else that I'm saying, I have to debunk the myth that as a franchise owner, there's this, what I call the silent killer in franchising. And it's that you, Mr. Franchisor, are going to make me successful. That I bought a franchise, or it's a franchise, so why do I have to go find my own customers? I have videos on this YouTube channel debunking all of those myths, and they all are myths. They are not true. You, as the franchisee, are buying into a proven business with a template and a toolbox. But it's how you execute on that template with those tools that creates an outcome. And this is why there are variances in when people break even in their business, when people cash flow positively, when people have their full ROI. If we're using ROI as money in, if I put this amount of money in, this is when I get that amount of money back. Even if we turn to the franchise disclosure document as a way to sort of see, like, what is the average franchisee doing? It's still no guarantee that you're going to show up and perform to that average level. You may show up and be a superstar out of the gate. You may show up and, for whatever reason, struggle out of the gate. Everybody's a little bit different. The FDD is one way for you to kind of think about that ROI, but then there's also the opportunity to validate with owners, where you get to go and talk to other people who are doing it, which I think is a little bit of a better way than using numbers in an FDD, which already are out of date. Because in order for them to be in that franchise disclosure document, it means they came from the year before. And assuming the franchise is growing and progressing, franchisees are probably already making more money on average than what you're looking at. So this whole question of what's the best franchise, what's the best ROI, it is a very convoluted question that there is no one simple answer to. If you want a simple answer, I'm sure somebody out there will give it to you, but the reality is they're lying to you. They're just telling you what you want to hear. They're not telling you what serves the purpose. They're not telling you the answer to the question you are actually asking, because you don't care about what anybody else is doing. You care about what you can do. And this is where Kim Daly comes into your life and into this equation for you. Because for the last 22 years, I've been navigating these waters. I've been helping people just like you sift and sort through all of the franchises out there to help you funnel your attention to the right opportunities that are aligned with the owner that you want to show up and be, using skills that you have that empower you, using the time commitment that you have to put into a business, and aligning the right franchises to those characteristics. There's so many things that you may think about as black and white answers in this process of trying to select the right franchise, that when you come to me, I'm going to help you see there are no black and white answers. Most of the conversations we're going to have are gray, which is where the uncertainty comes in. And then at the end of all of this, you may think, well, Kim, if it's that uncertain, how have you helped so many people to do this? Because nobody wants to bet their life savings if there's so much uncertainty. Well, once you get into the process with a franchisor and they start educating you about the systems and tools and processes and training that they have, and you start feeling the supportive culture that is there to coach you and guide you, and then you go out and you validate what you've learned from franchisors by talking to some of their franchisees. And I would lead you to their top performing people, the people who have what you want, the people who have mastered the model to this point in its history, meaning the top performing group may change. just like the bottom performing group may change. All business is subject to change because business owners should be constantly growing and getting better. So it's validating with owners and learning what top performing people are doing. What skill sets do they have? How do they invest their time in the business? How do they think about the business? How big do they think they can grow? And it's using that validation along with your own intuition about how close of a fit you feel to the culture of the franchise. When they're explaining to you the tools and the role that owners play, does that align with the owner that you are? That's where I would focus your time when you're asking me the question, what is the franchise with the best ROI? At the end of the day, it kind of takes me back to when I was a personal trainer and people would say, well, what's the best way to get in shape? I would say there is no one best way to get in shape. What's the exercise that you like to do that you are most likely to do consistently? Because in all things, getting to the gym and getting in shape, being successful as a business owner, perfection is not the goal. So what is? Consistency. As my trainer says, it's time under tension. As a business coach, I will tell you, it's time under tension. What is the business that you are excited about, that you're going to enjoy getting in there and putting in the time and effort and energy to learn it, to master it, to execute it consistently? Because that, my friend, is the business that will end up having the best ROI for you. If this information inspires you and you want to know how you can work with Kim Daly, please follow the email on the screen right now. Don't delay. Reach out to me because I am one of America's top franchise consultants and I know that I can help you. If you have the desire to change your life, to consider owning a business so that you have full freedom and control over your time and your financial future, business ownership is the way to go. Franchising just allows you to buy down the learning curve and statistically buy a more successful path to business ownership. I would love to be your mentor and your coach. Please follow the email right now. I can't wait to meet you.